It's Sunday afternoon. It's a little bit chilly and rainy outside today. I was outside trying to do both raking and cutting the grass because it's still growing even though it's the middle of October, and started to sprinkle. So okay, the lawn's not quite done. It's a chilly day. It's only in the mid-40s out there, and so it's going to be a good day to have something warm for dinner. So I'm going to make some tomato soup, and tonight I'm making a soup, which I'll grab the book, out of the Ovens of Brittany cookbook. You can see the page has been well used and spilled out and has notes. It's tomato dill soup, and we've got a few variations that we make on it that I think improve it just a little bit. Not that their recipe wasn't good to start with, it really was, but we're going to improve it just a little bit, make it our own. And so that's what's on the schedule today. Before we go much further with that, I just want to pull the camera over and show that in addition to the soup, we've got some bread, and the dough is rising. There you go. Judy has made some sourdough that's got some cracked wheat in it, and so we'll have an artesian bread to go along with our soup tonight, and that should be really good. Then if you look over here, I started to say what I was going to do, then I hit the wrong button on the camera and turned it off. I'm melting a little bit of butter. I'm going to put a little bit of oil in and start to make a roux. You ready for your bread dough? Okay.
Oven hasn't beeped.
So we'll start out by just doing a little bit of melting here, and I probably don't need quite this much, but I've got about 3/4 of a cup of flour, and I will just add it as I think it needs it by the looks of it, to make myself a roux for thickening the soup. Then what else have we got here? Chicken stock, frozen. It's real chicken stock that we made a few months ago. Stuck it in the freezer, and we much prefer homemade chicken stock to the little square cubes that you buy at the store that are chicken flavored salt. Now this means of course that we might have to add a little bit of salt, but that's okay. So I'm going to turn, I think what I'll do is leave the camera on while I'm making this, and then turn up the speed when I get to the computer to edit this. So the roux is working. I don't really measure my ingredients for making a roux. I put in enough oil that I think I'm going to use, and then I put enough flour till it looks about right. And if I get too much flour, I put in a couple of drops of oil until I get it to the way I want it. And that's what I'm doing tonight. Once I get it to about where I want it, I'm just going to take it off the heat and set it aside while I go on to the soup. So let's move that to the back and move that to the front. So come on over here. What we're going to do is put a bit of oil in the pan. I don't know if you saw that or not. It's there. But I'm gonna... The recipe calls for about a cup of finely chopped onions and 1 large clove of garlic. I've got 2 medium-sized clove of garlic and 3 half onions. That ought to be about enough. So we'll... You get the idea? You've seen this all done before, I'm sure. There you go, you can really see it that way. Let's say I want to saute these down to the point where they're nice and translucent and starting to get soft. Okay, the onions are nicely translucent. They've had about 5 minutes. I've been stirring them about once a minute. Next step is to put in the chicken stock. Move the camera so I can see this. Here we go. A big container of frozen chicken stock. And as you can see, it's still pretty frozen. Recipe calls for 4 cups of chicken stock. And I don't know what this is exactly, but it's a little bit less than 4. I'm going to be adding a little bit of extra water. Meanwhile, why don't I move you around and show you the rest of the ingredients. So what we've got, the recipe wants us to have 3 tablespoons of honey, 1 tablespoon of dill weed, 1 teaspoon of basil, about a half a teaspoon of black pepper, a half teaspoon of chili powder, and a couple of dashes of hot sauce. I happen to like Tarpies or Trappies because it's not too hot, and I can't handle real hot, but I do like the flavor. And this is, some people say it's not hardly hot enough, but I think it's fantastic because it's got a flavor to it, and it's not going to burn you. I want to taste something. Then an optional thing that can go in here is a little bit of cayenne pepper. I'm not going to bother with that. Again, I don't want it too hot. Finally, we need a can of tomato paste, and with that I'm going to add a couple of cans worth of water and a can of chopped or diced tomatoes. So that'll be the whole thing, and we'll add the rest of that after this hard water chicken stock has melted just a little bit more. Okay, so there's all of our ingredients. Somehow this got in there, but I don't know who's responsible for that. I think it was Squirty Puss, the kitty cat. There goes the tomatoes. Why don't you come over here just a little bit more? Look in there. Put in the tomato paste. Now we need 3 tablespoons of honey. That's 1. That's 2. That looks like 3 tablespoons. Tablespoon of dill weed. About a teaspoon, I think, of basil. Teaspoon of basil. It's not going to measure easily. That's a little over a teaspoon, but a little bit of chili powder. Here's the other thing that the recipe does not call for, but that we like to add to it, a little bit of tortellini. We think it adds a little bit of body to it, and it tastes good. So instead of having to have some other kind of a starch, a lot of bread, although we are having bread with this, instead of having a lot of extra bread with it, we're going to have some tortellinis with ours. So we'll stir all this stuff in. You can see my hard as a rock chicken stock is still hard as a rock, although there's a lot less hard. There's my knife. There we go. We'll let that simmer for a little while. Add a little extra water. Alrighty, the tortellini isn't quite done, but it's had enough time that what I'm going to do is add the roux and give this a quick stir up. I think that looks pretty decent. That they talk about roux being the color of peanut butter. And that sure qualifies in my opinion. So let's start to add that in. Stir it around. This should thicken up very nicely. Back to using a spoon. Oh yeah, that is really thickening. That is very nice. I want this to be a very thick soup, so this is pretty reasonable. Tortellini can probably stand another 2 or 3 minutes. We'll keep the temperature nice and low. Well, I think it's time to taste our soup. Don't know what you can see, but we will dish up a couple of bowls of soup. There's one. There's two. It's probably going to be too hot to eat. Let's come over here, take one more look. What we've got is the home-baked bread. This looks fantastic. Cut a slice of that to go with our soup. They say this is a sourdough and cracked whole wheat. Come up here. Very yummy bread. Very yummy. You done good. Let's see about the soup. Probably burn myself tasting this one. It tastes good, but burn the tongue. It's got to cool just a little bit. Anyways, that's tomato dill basil soup and homemade sourdough cracked wheat bread, artisan style, and an excellent dinner. So thank you for watching my channel. If you like this, I would appreciate if you would subscribe, and we'll catch you later. Bye-bye.